This is the last presentation of content for the semester, and we're looking at social media as part of your awareness as an artist and the importance in the 21st century of using social media effectively. That it's really important to be aware not only of the type of content that you put up, the various resources you have available, but also who you connect with. Being very aware of the quality of people with whom you interact in social media, so that you start to distinguish between your personal and your professional persona, you might say. That how many here have a Facebook account? All right, so actually a lot of people have Facebook, and what you can do in your Facebook account is you can create a Facebook artist page to promote your own work if you want to use your name. If you are operating under a different business name altogether, you can create a Facebook page for your business. I tend to believe myself that it's a good idea to keep your business and your personal Facebook pages separate and distinct from one another. And for one, it helps you with your business interactions to keep them very easily separate. It also allows you to think about ways that you engage with family, friends, and the like. So it doesn't have to replace your own website if you have one, or your own personal page. All it does, if you set one up within your own Facebook page already, is support the work you have, helps build your profile, or if you have your own business, it doesn't replace your own business web page, but it does support it. A lot of work, actually, a lot of visibility is coming through Facebook. Who owns Facebook, by the way? Google. Who else does Google own? Who's that? Yeah, they own probably half the world now, all right? But what else is owned on the internet by Google? YouTube. What else? Google Chrome, the browser. Gmail. One of the things about having Gmail or using Google is being aware that Google optimizes for itself. Google is very self-serving and will put its interests above yours. Now, a lot of people worry, if I put my stuff up on Google, then it's no longer mine. Well, if you're aware, because when you sign up for a Gmail account or a YouTube account or a Facebook account, you are giving Facebook, YouTube, or Gmail certain permissions. It's really a good idea to read the permissions that you're giving them. However, with an awareness of the permissions you're giving, such as they have access, if you put any images up there, they have access to them, make sure the images you put up are going to present your business then. All right, make sure the content you put up is going to forward your business. That's why it's a good idea often to separate your personal versus your professional Facebook pages. So you can make sure that each of those Facebook accounts is optimized to do what you want it to do, because Google will benefit itself. So use Google's self-interest to benefit you. So if you are a professional artist, make sure that the stuff you put on your Facebook page relates to images you want to show doing your art. As compared to people who, here I am at Denny's and I'm having moon over my hammy. All right? You don't want that on somebody's business page. All right? You don't want somebody hammered down at some place on the plaza. All right? You don't want to show, your kid in their diapers, hanging down to their knees. All right? That's all stuff that's great on your family page, but on your business page, it becomes spam. And a lot of what you get on Facebook is what I would call friendly spam. All right? A lot of stuff you really don't need. And you'll find out when you do a lot of Facebook is that when content starts to come to you that you don't need, you actually start to either unfriend those people or you don't pay attention to them. That's why you want to make sure your business and your professional personas are kept as separate and distinct as you can. So, your art isn't going to speak for itself. So the best person that's going to help you present yourself is going to be you. So you want to think about the things that you do in Facebook or any other social media as an extension of your art or your writing, or your curatorial skills, whatever it is you're engaging in, as an extension of you and your art, not separate from it. It's an opportunity to write about yourself, write about your art, to show photos, to communicate with your audience. And one of the things that you'll see now in particular is that the more that you use video, and the more times that your name is attached to video and other multimedia, the higher in optimization you can make yourself when Google does searches. When you can type in Golger Oscar, and you are the very first person that appears, you're either the only person in the world with that name, or you have put enough content out there that relates to the optimization and the filtering that's done on Google to make you appear at the top. All right, so it's being very conscious of every piece of content you put up there. So it's an opportunity to write about your art, show photos, communicate with the audience, so really take time to think about what's important about what you do as an artist so that you can get the right words and images to present yourself in that manner. So you can create your Facebook page under your professional title. All right, it's often our Facebook page has been called a fan page, and it's a single page that's separate from your personal account. It's like a one-page meeting space on your Facebook page if you're going to keep them intertwined with each other. It has information, links, a message box form, and the like. All right, and so people engage your page either by liking it or finding it, but also Facebook will present your page to other people that may have similar interests. That's why it's a good idea to be aware of the content you put up, because Facebook will do some marketing for you. It will optimize for itself. It's very self-serving, so use the self-serving part of it to your advantage. And then once someone's liked your page, then they'll start to receive updates about your status. They'll start to be able to view your photo albums, just like a regular Facebook account page. And it's even become more granular, because now in Facebook, if you'll ever notice, when you click on the like, all right, you can either do the thumbs up or the heart or the tears, the guy that looks really pissed off icons. All right, these are, it's become even more granular, the control over whether you like or dislike something that's being presented. Wow. So you want to select a unique page image. All right, this is actually one of the most crucial components of a fan page. You ever heard that expression, every picture tells a story? Yeah. All right, you really want to be aware that the image you put up there is going to be what presents your identity. So you want it to be eye-catching. In a speech, they would call it your attention getter. All right, and if you were a journalist, they call it a slug. All right, and in Facebook, you're looking at pictures that really do show you doing something important or a really important part of your work. So it could be the most striking examples of your work to date, and you want to make sure you've got a pretty good resolution photo of you at work or your work. You also, if you're an artist, filmmaker, because your gallery can now be movies too. And one of the things when you're sharing movies on Facebook or in YouTube, people watch online video differently than they do television or the VCR. When they're watching video online, they have a shorter attention span. So you want to make sure any video clips you put up that you can tell your message in less than 3 minutes, which is actually a really, really, really long commercial. All right, but beyond 3 minutes, people are going to lose attention. And so when you're using video, you want to make sure that the images you're showing are very thought-provoking, and the video or audio that you are putting up there is very thought-provoking. So how is your work divided up? Think about that when you're laying out a Facebook page. Do you have different collections? For example, if you are a three-dimensional artist, do you have work that's done just in metal? Do you have work that's done just in ceramics? Do you have work that's done just in wood, just in stone? So there are different categories. If you're a painter, do you have work that's done just in watercolor, work that's done just in acrylic, work that's done just in oil? Or do you do a lot of non-commissioned art, graffiti, that's done in aerosol? Or do you have subject matter, fantasy images versus historical images versus cultural images? So you think about the different categories so that you have, when people select an image or a category, They're looking, in essence, at a collection of images that relate to certain themes. So, if you were going to have someone, because what that is, it's like someone being able to walk into your studio. Your Facebook page, in essence, becomes like your own studio or gallery. 15 years ago, and I might have said this at the beginning of the year, I worked in a major gallery on the plaza that sold tribal arts. And as we were looking around at people that did not anticipate that people would be buying art online, those businesses went out of business. They thought no one's going to buy a painting online. The same way Borders thought no one's going to buy books online. Where's Borders now? They're no more. All right, that the web has become a primary way for artists to be able to present themselves and cut out the gallery commissions. I mentioned in the beginning of the semester gallery commission, all right, and what you pay in that commission, where this is a way to present yourself. There are several graduates of IIA who do a pretty dang good business strictly through their Facebook page. And when they put their work up, it's sold within a week. So the only commission they're paying is to the IRS and state tax. So you want to present your own professional artist gallery that will sync automatically with your website if you have one, or your blog if you have one. And if you're doing so, when you're presenting this image of yourself, your profile picture, with your profile picture, you don't want to change it very often, because in some ways that becomes your logo. Right? So when you walk in, if you're walking downtown, how do you know that you're in front of, we'll say, Starbucks?
The green sign.
The green sign. All right. What if you walk by a month from now and the green sign has turned into a red sign? You won't notice it. All right. That in essence you become brand recognition in some way. So being aware. This is a place when it's your profile picture that you don't want to be changing that picture a lot, because in many ways it's like your storefront. Next, you want to be thinking about a strong bio for the informational section. All right, what's that combination of words that can make critical connections between you and your audience? It's a good idea to learn the language of the medium in which you work, because the people who are buying that kind of work are speaking that language. So you want to be able to communicate effectively in those terms. So this is the kind of information you would be adding to the info tab of your Facebook page. And when you click that info tab and you press edit information, you'll have the opportunity to do that bio. And your bio, for your final presentation, for example, you were asked to do a brief artist statement. Right? That can be part of your bio. That's some of the content that has to be in your final presentation. Some of the things that you want to include in this statement. And it shouldn't be any more than a paragraph. Someone should be able to read that statement within 15 seconds. All right, and that is the education that you have if you think it's important. And it relates to whatever you are presenting yourself as an artist. Where you're currently located. Any types of prizes, awards that you might have won. Any exhibitions you might have been involved in. Any periodicals you might have been involved in. All right, any readings, any presentations, any performances. If you have a web address, make sure you include that main web address and anything else that might be of an interest for you and your audience. So for example, although I worked for 12 years for Coca-Cola, that every time you drink a Coca-Cola, you're paying part of my pension. Don't drink that stuff. It's really bad for you. I'm not a truck driver anymore. Yeah, Dr. Pepper will work too, depending on where you are. If you're in Atlanta, it pays part of my pension. All right, but is that something as an educator, as a performing artist, that I would want to include? I worked 12 years for Coca-Cola. Why? It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. So be very discriminative about the types of content you put there. So if it's going to be of interest to you and your audience, you want to make sure it's there. And we do. We interact with our eyes. and we interact with our fans. See, Facebook is very visual. All right, so you want to make sure that your pictures are telling something, but you also want people to comment on your wall. All right, when someone comments on the new status, or a new photo, a video, a discussion thread, anything else, you need to comment back. If nothing else, to recognize that you saw they commented, and you might be saying to yourself, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be spending all my time on Facebook." You don't need to write, novels. You don't need to write these elaborate discussions in order to interact with people. People have a really short attention span. Sometimes just acknowledging that you thanking someone for their comment, saying you agree with them, giving a thumbs up that you like it, just some other way to acknowledge that you have seen it, can keep people coming back. It allows you to talk with fellow artists and people who follow you. And sometimes when you're asking for feedback, all right, that'll get a lot of people jumping in, because a lot of people love their opinion about what you're doing. So when you present a new piece of work and you say, "What do you think of this?" and you get people to comment on it, well, they are not the only ones who comment on it. Who else is going to see that work?
Everyone else.
Everyone else they're connected with. And then everyone else that everyone else and everyone else is connected with. So that one thumbs up or love becomes exponentially large in the number of people you can reach. That's why you want to make sure that you are substantive in what you present. And it keeps people coming back. So you let them post on your wall. And you can, in the settings, decide whether or not those types of comments are approved. So you can decide first whether you okay the comments before they go up. Because you don't want people on there flaming you. All right, you don't want people burning your store down. You don't want people defacing your property. Don't let people with dirty boots walk through your mind.
So you delete them.
What's that? So you delete them. If people do things that are inappropriate, you delete it. And you don't have to give permission. You don't have to let someone know. Right? Because there are a lot of people, what's the expression online they call them? When they go around and consciously do things to deface your Facebook, any types of other page. What do they call them? They do it on Twitter too. Starts with a T. Trolling. And then you want to be careful who you friend. So, for example, during this last election, anyone who asked to be a friend that was not already a friend, who had a lot of political content on their Facebook page, whether they were in favor of Hillary, Bernie, Trump, I did not friend them. Matter of fact, if they started doing too much, really what I would call violent or offensive type of political statements, I unfriended them. Because have you ever heard the expression, if you lie down with dogs, you get bit, yeah, but you come up with fleas. All right, it can either be credibility by association or defamation by association. And I had something happen to me about a month and a half ago that there is someone I hold in very high regard as a friend. I was asked, it says, so-and-so wants to be your friend, and it showed who they were friends with. All right, so they were friends with this person who I held in very high regard, so I hit the friend button, and I had to go to the store. I came back, and when I looked on who this person was, the person was very scantily clad on top of an automobile in a position that if someone looked at that and said, "That's Fadden's friend?" So I very quickly unfriended that person because I do not want ladies in their underwear stretched across automobiles on my Facebook page. That is not what I promote. That's not what I'm about. So be very aware when someone sends you a friend invitation, look at who that person is first and look who their friends are. Because when you're an artist, when you are a public figure, when you are a curator, when you are a writer, and people see your associations and they are less than favorable, they will tend to look negatively upon you. And it may damage your reputation. So you want to be really aware about the people you friend. You want to make sure that you're publishing useful and relevant content. So you regularly want to feature content that you have created, whether it be a photograph, a video, a bit of writing, an idea, an opinion, whatever it is. Make sure you generate it. Do any of you have any Facebook friends that do nothing but repost other people's spam? Any of you know people, if you have any Facebook friends, that all you get from them is someone else's videos? Matter of fact, and there's a good chance that that video has been shared by 27 other people, and it's boring. It's a waste of my time. It's friendly spam. So you want to make sure in your professional page that you are generating your own content, or if you are featuring the content of your friends, you make sure that it's relevant to yourself as an artist, as well as potential customers, as well as to other artists. And Facebook will actually give you a weekly update of how many visits you've had that week. Repeat offenders, I like to call them. All right, these are your metrics, your measurements of how successful certain things have been. So if you put a post up and you've got, and you say, we'll say like 230 people hit the like button, and say 50 people share it, they would call that viral. That means that it's gotten a lot of visibility. A lot of people have seen it, because it's not just the people who commented, liked, and shared, but it also takes into consideration that you can't see, though, their friends who liked it and shared it too. But you can get feedback from the analytics of the type of content you get, how many shares, likes, and the like, that allow you to say, this really worked. Right? This is something I might want to try again in a different format, because every time you get a lot of people to interact with your Facebook page, you are increasing your professional as well as personal visibility. So you look at it beyond a place just to stand on your soapbox. That you want people to come back. And you might start with, for other people's content, your favorite blogs, your favorite websites, your favorite video clips. But you want to make sure that you're featuring your own content too. So you're reposting content from other users, and that's complimentary. All right, if there's another artist that you really appreciate, and you're sharing work from each other, and you find out you're the only person, though, who's showing the work. All right, so you're showing all their stuff, and you're finding out that they're not paying much attention to you. All right, that's a relationship on Facebook you may want to let go, because your time is a premium, and it is like a job. So if you're going to maintain an effective artist, writers, curator's Facebook page, you want to plan on mapping out a good 45 minutes to an hour a day just to communication. And you want to make sure you don't farm that out to someone else, all right, that you do it yourself. Because it is about, even though it's in digital format being mediated by the internet, it is a way that people connect with each other. But anytime you're reposting someone else's stuff, it complements them, and it creates more exposure to what you want to present later. And you want to make sure that you monitor your progress. All right, so you get detailed information about the visitors to your page. You can see historic data as to when people commented, what they liked, or even people who unfriended you. All right, you get all that kind of information available. So you want to pay attention to significant changes. All right, for example, if you're posting too much about you and not enough about them, they may actually hide you from their news feed so that they're not getting your content anymore. All right, this allows you to say, all right, maybe I need to pay more attention to them. So you're presenting yourself as the professional that you are. You've got to view yourself as a professional, even as a student. Take yourself seriously. Because if you don't, I promise you, they won't. So it really is a lot about your attitude. But as well as who you wish to become. Who do you want to be? And walk toward that. And that is in the presentation of the content that you put up there. And if you don't have a strong presence, it's really hard to sell yourself in the 21st century. Social media is an important part of it. So you want to showcase your talent instead of just talking about it. That's why it's so important to be visual, whether it be with images, video, and audio. It allows you to develop and discover your content. So if you write, so if you're in creative writing, you want to have a blog. The blog forces you to have to write on a regular basis. It's almost like having a newspaper. It's almost like having a daily editorial. Right? But it improves your skill. All right, if you're a photographer, you want to have a Flickr account, a place where you present your images. If you're a filmmaker, you want to have a Vimeo or a YouTube account where you can have streamed clips of the work you're presenting. So you want to make sure you're presenting original content that people can't get anywhere else. So you're telling your story. There's that old saying, tell me a fact, I'll learn. Tell me the truth, I'll believe. Tell me a story, and it will live in my heart forever. People respond to stories. They're a lot more memorable than just facts. We remember stories. We do so because they evoke some type of emotional response within us. So you want to make sure that it's something personal, that is written by you, about you, that readers will want to tell other people. And it can be the interesting and memorable anecdotes, the facts that make it easier for your fans to promote you. So be aware that you want memorable stories, memorable ideas, memorable images. It makes it easier for you to promote yourself as well as for your fans to promote you. And if you're going to use Facebook, other things to be aware of. Instagram. What's Instagram? Pictures and video, short video. You can actually edit your video on Instagram. Right? That's, in essence, you can have your own TV channel doing 3-minute commercials. And you get that stuff out there. And YouTube and Google, it all optimizes for itself. And you can have that stuff plugged right into your Facebook page. Flickr. What's Flickr? Photos. If you're a photographer, you want to have a gallery in Flickr. And I know several photographers that sell their work completely from Flickr. Twitter. Twitter is more that kind of run and gun. All right, when you're doing tweeting, there's short little bursts. Right, just short little bursts. There are ways for people to have a running commentary of important things you might be doing. So, for example, did anyone here go to the Comic-Con downtown a couple weeks ago? All right, there are a number of artists who are tweeting from there. All right, it creates a lot of interest in what they were doing, as well as the people they're meeting, as well as their opinions. And then WordPress if you're a writer. Right, these are other ways to tell stories, depending on the attention span. So WordPress is going to take the longest attention span, because people actually have to read. Flickr is people who are, you might say, terminally incoherent sometimes. Flickr, picture tells a story. Instagram takes a little bit more of an attention span. These are all ways to use your social media to tell your story in ways that will engage an audience. Some of the top reasons, though, that social marketing fails is your profile information might be incomplete or it could be blocked. You're not relating to your interests of artists and fans. It's too fluffy or too insubstantial. You're not following the people who follow you. You might have a lot of negative or rude interactions. You don't follow up on comments or questions. Or you are only self-promoting. So you're a spammer in disguise, or you do too much on politics and religion. So when you're using social media, you got to remember that a person's time is really valuable. And in social media, if you're not wasting someone's time, or you want to make sure that you're teaching them something that's going to be important, relevant, useful in the art field, in the literary field, museum field, all right, so that you become that you're a valuable and an interesting connection. In many ways, you are seen as a professional if you present yourself that way. Because you're only a mouse click away from being unfriended, someone changing the channel. If you take yourself seriously as an artist, as a writer, as a curator, and you are not promoting a web presence, you will go the way of borders. All the people that are engaged in the same, not all of them, but most of the people who are engaged in the same activity as you that are successful are using social media.